So, I'm starting my Flask project from scratch, and first of all I need a virtual environment. I will use virtualenv, but you can use pipenv. Now I have to activate it. And I prefer to use a subfolder app for my projects. So I've got this file structure. venv is the folder of my virtual environment, and the app folder is the folder for my Flask app. Okay. Now I can install Flask. And now I want to create files for my project. Small Flask application we can implement only in one file, and it's very cool. But I want to create 4 files for this project. The config file, config.py. The config I want to use to store the configuration of my project. Then I want to use the app.py file. It will contain a code of my application. The main, it's an entry point, and the views.py file. The views.py file will contain functions for handling a user's requests. And first of all, I need to create an instance of the Flask class. So I'm opening the app.py file, and here I am importing the Flask class, and I'm creating an instance of the Flask class. It will be the app variable, and the constructor of the Flask class takes the name variable as a required argument. The name variable is the name of the current file. It's the required argument because Flask will use this name to build paths to other files of the project. HTML files, static files, CSS, JavaScript, etc. And to run my application, I have to create an entry point of the project. So I am opening main.py file, and here I am importing my app variable from the app module. From app, import app run. I'm calling the run method. Flask has own development server that uses 5000 port, and now I'm starting it. Python main.py. And now I want to set debug mode to true, because I don't want to restart dev server manually anytime when files of the project are changed. So this time I need the config.py file, and here I am creating the class config and debug variable in uppercase equals to true. And to use this config class, I have to import it to my app.py module. From config. Dot here means the current folder. Import config class. Flask class has a config dictionary that I can populate in 5 ways, but I want to use the fromObject method because I have created the config class. And I'm using app config dictionary, and I'm calling the fromObject method that takes my config class as an argument. And now in views.py module, I want to import the app variable. From app, import app. And I want to remind you that app variable is the Flask object. And here I'm ready to write a function that will handle requests to my app. The road function is a Flask class method that creates an association between the URL I specified as its argument, it's a root URL of the project, and the index function. It means that all requests to this URL will be handled by index function. And under the hood, Flask uses dictionary like this, where the key is a URL and the value of that key is a function that handles all requests to this key. More about decorators you can watch in my decorators guide video. So, the index function will return the hello world string. I have the views.py file in my project, but Flask doesn't know yet that there is the views.py file. And to fix it, I have to import the views.py file in my main.py file. Import views. Now, as I set the debug mode to true, I want to restart my server. He doesn't like my dot. Okay. Again. Okay. Debug mode on. Great. Now I want to open Chrome browser and localhost 5000 port number has hello world string. Okay. Actually, the same way we can use multiple root decorators to set the same behavior for multiple addresses. For example, I can create a new one to blog, for example. Server restarted, F5, and I have the same behavior for blog page 2. Okay. Also, the returning string can have HTML text. For example, let's say it will be h1. I have no blog page anymore, and the hello world is a h1 header. Okay, but as you can guess, it's very inefficient way, and usually HTML templates are used for that. And to use HTML templates, first of all, I have to create them. So I'm creating a new template folder, templates folder. Flask knows that the templates folder contains HTML files for an application. And inside the templates folder, I'm creating an index.html file that will have some basic layout. And now I have to return to a user this index.html template. So in the views.py file, the returning value will be the result of the render template function that I have to import. From Flask, import render template. And the first argument of the render template function is my index.html template. Let's test it. And we can see basic layout of my index.html template. Okay. The next step is to pass into the index.html template some data from this Python function. For example, I have an animal. I have the variable defined in the index function. And to pass the animal variable to the template, to the index.html, I can define a new named argument for render template. And the name of this argument will be the name of the variable I can use in the template. So let's say it will be the name variable. and the value of this name variable is the value I want to render in index.html. That will be an animal variable. And in the index.html template, I have to use paired curly brackets to render the value of the past variable. The variable was name, and if I refresh the page, I can see the value of the animal variable that I passed into the index.html in the name variable. It was the very basic Flask application, and if you like the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. In this video, I want to make a basic layout of the page. I want to use Bootstrap framework, so I'm opened getbootstrap.com, and I need the link to its CSS file. I'm opening index and just paste it here. And also I want to have navbar. So documentation, components, navbar, copy it and paste it here. Okay, I want the dark one, so I need CSS classes. And also I want to delete drop down menu and this disabled link. Okay. F5. Also, I want to have a margin between navbar and main content, so I want to add margin bottom 5. Great. And also, somewhere here, I want to use a basic Bootstrap layout. It's two divs, container, and its child div with the raw CSS classes. It's the block for the main content. And now we have a problem here. As you can know, any website has some web elements that appeared repeatedly on any page of the website. And most sites will have some form of branding or logo. Apart from the branding, there are normally other parts like navigation bars, sidebars, menu, breadcrumbs, header, footer, and so on, like the Bootstrap website has, for example. It turns out that to show to a user common elements of a page, for example a menu, I would have to add these common elements to every page of my project. That's literally, I have to copy and paste a certain HTML code to every page. And if I want to add or remove a link from this menu, I have to make changes on every page that uses this menu. And it's wasteful and tedious work. It's inefficient. And to solve this issue, Flask, to be exactly Ginger 2 templater, provides mechanism that's well known as template inheritance. And the main idea of the template inheritance is to create a basic HTML template that will contain all common elements for every page of a website. A header, a menu, a sidebar, or a footer, or anything you want to have on every page. And any specific for every page elements or data will be injected to this basic template. So I have to make some base HTML file that will contain all common elements for all pages. And I want just to rename my index.html file to the base HTML file. And inside the templates folder, I'm creating empty index.html file. And now I have to say to Flask that I've got the base template that should be filled with a content of this specific page. And to do it, we have to use the extends keyword inside curly brackets paired with a %. Extends and in quotes the name of the template I want to extend. It's a base HTML. And we can test it. F5. And now I've got the menu navbar that was defined in the base HTML file. Drop down menu. Okay, it was defined in the base HTML, but my view function renders index.html, so the template inheritance is working. And now the next step is to specify in the base HTML template all places where specific content will be inserted from other HTML templates. And we can do it with the blog keyword wrapped with the curly brackets and %, like we did before. So I want to have title, blog keyword, and then the name of this blog, title, and I have to close it with the end blog keyword. And the same block I want to have for the main part, and it will be named content. And also in every specific template of my project I have to do the same. I have to define the title block and the content block. So I am using index and I will use my snippets, title, index page, for example, and the content will be h1, and let's test it. F5. I've got the title, index page, and I've got my h1 header defined in index.html, and navbar was defined in base HTML. That's the template inheritance. So if you like the video, please thumb up and subscribe to the channel. We can separate some functionality to something like a plugin. This concept in Django called app, application, and in Flask it's a blueprint. Each blueprint is an isolated part of the functionality of our project. For example, a commenting system, or a payment system, or an authorization, or maybe a chatbot, or a Telegram bot can be applications, can be blueprints. And each blueprint can be almost a completely separated code with its own logic, with its own HTML templates, with its own CSS styles and JavaScripts. And each blueprint is literally the folder with the code that implements a certain functionality. It can be easily copied and pasted to another project with Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V shortcuts. and right now I'm going to create one. I'm creating a new folder. I name it posts, and inside this folder I'm creating a new file, blueprint py, and here I have to import blueprint class from Flask, import blueprint, and now I need to create an instance of the blueprint class. It will be posts variable blueprint, and the first argument of its constructor is the name of this blueprint. I want to have the post's name. It's a string. The second argument is the name variable again, like we did with the instance of the Flask class, name. And the purpose of the name variable here is the same. The blueprint class will use it to determine paths to all files of the blueprint. And the third argument is the template folder parameter. It's a string, the name of the folder that will contain all HTML templates of the blueprint. It will be templates. And to say to Flask that he has a new blueprint, I have to register it in my app. And also I want to stop my dev server here, and I want to use run atom plugin to start it from atom. I want to see if something goes wrong. So I have to register my blueprint in my app. I am opening app.py file, and here from posts folder, post package, from blueprint module, I'm importing the posts variable. And now the registration. I am using the app variable, the instance of the Flask class, and I am calling register blueprint function that gets the posts variable, an instance of the blueprint, as the first argument. The second argument is the URL prefix. I want to have blog. It means that my blueprint will have local host 5000 blog address. And now let's create a view for the posts blueprint. I'm opening blueprint py file, and I do it the same way like with the view of the Flask instance. But instead of the app variable, that is the Flask instance, I am using here the posts variable. So posts root, it will be a root URL, and I'm defining a new function that will handle requests to that address. It's a local host, in my case blog. So, and then the name of the function will be posts list function. That will return a template. I'm calling the render template function. And here I have to import the render template. Okay. And the first argument of the render template is the name of the HTML template I want to render. And so I have to create templates folder inside the posts folder. Templates. And also I want to follow Django's terminology, and so inside the templates folder I am creating a new folder, posts. And inside the posts folder I want to create a template. Let's say it will be posts list, or just posts HTML. So the first argument is the path to the post.html file. post.html. And in its turn, post.html file will extend the base HTML file, the title block, post lists, a content block, maybe even blueprint. Let's check it. F5. I need blog, and I've got the page defined in the blueprint, posts blueprint. Okay, it works. And now I want to change a bit the base HTML file. Base HTML. I want to have a link to the main page, and I want to have a link to the blog, to this page. And also I want to wrap this content with call 8 and mx after, just to have it centered. Okay, so the main link will be Flask, for example, and the href attribute will be the following. I'm using two paired curly brackets, and I am calling URL4 function. Its first argument is the name of the function that will handle requests to this URL, and it will be index function, because this function handles requests to the main domain. Let's test it. F5, and we can see that it works. Okay, the next link will be blog link, and the href attribute will be the same. It's a URL4 function, and I have to pass into it the name of the function that will handle requests to that URL address. The function handler of requests to the localhost 5000 blog URL is the posts list function that was defined in the posts blueprint. The name of the blueprint is the first argument that I've passed into the blueprints class constructor. So it was posts. And so the argument for the URL4 function will be the name of the blueprint, posts, dot, and then the name of the function that will handle requests to this URL. It's a post list function. Post list. F5. And it works. Great. And I want to focus your attention that Jinja2 templater requires that we have to use parentheses for the call functions. URL4 has parentheses. Unlike DTL, unlike Django template language that doesn't require to use parentheses. It's the main difference between DTL and Jinja2. If you like the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. In this video I want to create a model, the data that will be stored in a database. And to deal with databases I want to use SQLAlchemy or IAM system. Let's install Flask SQLAlchemy extension. Now I am opening the config.py file, and in the config class I am creating a new class property, SQLAlchemy database URI. it should be in uppercase. I used my shortcut to make it uppercased, and the value of this property will be the following. First of all, I have to specify the database I will use. I want to use the SQLite database, so it should be SQLite colon and 3 slashes. And then the name and location of the database I want to use. The SQLite database is just a file. That's why I have to specify the absolute path to the database file. And we can use here the same idea like in Django. And first of all, I have to import auth module. And I create base dir variable that will get the following value. Auth path. I need to get the absolute path of the config.py file, this one, with the function appsPath, and the name variable as an argument. The appsPath function will return the absolute path to the config.py file, like this. And I need to get an absolute path to the directory which contains my config.py file, my project. I can do it with the auth path dir name function that will return this string. And here I'll just call the join method and pass into it base dir variable and the name of my database. Let's say that'll be database db file. Then in the app.py file I'm importing the SQLAlchemy class. Flask _ SQLAlchemy import SQLAlchemy. SQLAlchemy is an ORM system that stands for Object Relational Mapping. The main idea of the Object Relational Mapping is that we can use Python objects classes to describe schema of a relational database. ORM is a additional layer of more abstract logic over a certain SQL language. And ORM helps us to describe data that we want to store in a database with Python classes. And these classes are called modules. And now I want to create an instance of the SQLAlchemy class. I think that'll be the db variable. And I am passing into its constructor my Flask instance, the app variable. Server is started and we can see the deprecation warning. And to read off this warning we have to explicitly set SQL track modifications in the config.py file. I have to set it explicitly to true or to false. I don't want to use track modifications, so I want to set it to false. I will start the server again. And there is no this warning anymore. Okay, now I can import my db variable to the main py file. Then in the root directory of my project, I'm creating the modules py file. Modules. From app import db, I need the SQLAlchemy instance. And then I can create Python class that will store the data of my posts. It'll be the post class, a subclass of the module class. All records in a database have a unique ID or primary key (PK). It's an automatically incremented number which we can use to identify a record in a database. So the first column of the post table will be the ID. It's an instance of the column class. The first argument is the data type. It will be the integer. I want to set the ID as the primary key. True. Then each post will have a title. The data type is a string. The max length will be 140 characters. Then the slug. The same way, but the slug will be unique. The slug field is a human-readable URL, and URLs should be unique, otherwise we can get conflicts. Then a post will have a body. It's just a text and the date of its creation, of publication. I want to import from date time module. I need date time, and default value will be date time now function. I defined the class properties, and now I have to define the constructor of the post class. The init method that takes self and some positional and keyworded arguments. Then I want to call the constructor of the module class. The module class is the superclass of the post module. So I'm calling the super function. Then I call the init method, and I just pass into it positional and keyworded arguments of the post class that it will get. And also I have to generate the slug. So I'm calling the generate slug function. That will be the following. If self title self slug will be, and I'm calling slugify function that takes the title of the post as an argument. I want to use here the slugify function because I'll need the same behavior for the tag module a bit later. So it will be the separate function. Let's define it here. Slugify function takes some string as an argument, and it will pass for a while. Now I need regex validator. I like regex 101. So test string, Python test strings will be some titles. First post, second post, third post. And now I need to generate URLs from these titles. A URL shouldn't have spaces, punctuation marks, and special characters. And all of these characters should be replaced by underscore or dashes. I want to use a regular expression to find all undesirable characters and then to replace them. So my regular expression will be the following. I need a group of symbols, so I'm using square brackets. Then \w. \w means letters, underscores and digits, and plus. Plus means infinite amount of characters. And we can see that this regular expression finds all I need to have in a URL. And to invert the search result, I have to use the caret character before my regular expression. And the caret means except. So I need all characters except this. So it's my regular expression. Let's import regular expression module, RE, and I need a pattern. It will be raw string, and this my regular expression. The slugify function will return the result of the substitution. Re module has a sub function. It's a substitution function where the first argument is what to find. I need to find all characters that matches to my regular expression, to my pattern. The second argument is what I want to use for substitution. I think that I will use dash. And the third argument is where I want to find it. It will be as string. And that's all. Slugify function will return a slug that I want to use. Okay, and what should happen if not self-title, if there is no title? Self-slug will be equals to, and here I want to use epoch time, the time in seconds passed from the January the 1st of 1970. So I can get it with from time import time function. I'm calling the time function. Then I want to convert it to integers, and then I need to get the string. And that's all. Then I think I will need wrapper method. It's f-string notation. And before I create a post, I have to create the post table. I am opening again the Python shell. I want to use IPython, and here from app import db, and from models import all. And the SQLAlchemy has the create all method that I want to use, create all. And we can see database db file was created, and now I can create first post. Let's say it will be p post, title will be first post, body will be the same. Okay, PID none. This expression creates an instance of the post class, but the data of the p variable is not saved in the database yet. And to save it to a database, I have to add it to the session. The session is a special object that stores all information about our manipulations with the database that we want to commit to database. So I need db session object, and sessions has add method, and I want to pass into it my p variable, db session commit. And now my p has an ID number 1. I forgot to close angle bracket here. Okay. Let's create another one. Second post body. Let's create a post with the punctuation marks in its title. That'll be p1 posts title and again and it works. We can see that all punctuation marks was replaced with dashes. And now let's get all posts from the database. How we can do it? I need the post class and its query object. And I'm calling the all method. And I've got a list with all posts. Let's get a post by its title. How we can do it? Post class, query object, and I'm calling the filter method. Will be again post class. I need all posts that has title that contains, for example, the second word. And the filter method returns a base query object that behaves like a list. And we can iterate through it in a for loop. Or we can call the all method to get a list. I've got a list with one element. Or to get an element, this element, I can call the first method. And I've got the post number 2. There is another way to get an object. For example, p equals to post, again the query object, the filter method, and I need all posts with the titles that equals to cloud, for example word. And I'm calling the all method, and we can see an empty list because I have no post with the cloud word in the title. It's a basic examples, and Flask SQLAlchemy documentation has many more examples of it. Now I want to change a bit my posts list view function. I need my blueprint. Here I need my post. From models import post. And as I imported my post, I immediately got an exception. Cannot import named.db from partially initialized module app. Line 5 of models py file. The issue is the following. I'm import the post class from the models module. But to create a post class, I need SQLAlchemy object, the DB variable that was imported from the app module. But SQLAlchemy object was created at the line 13 after the blueprint was imported and executed accordingly. That's why I've got an exception, circular imports. So I think that I move registration of my blueprints to the main py file. Somewhere here. And I have to import posts to main. Okay. Let's run it again. And it's working. Okay, great. So, in the blueprint py, in the post list function, I want to get all posts. Post class query object, and I need to call the all function. And then I have to pass into the template, into the posts HTML template, my posts. Posts equal to posts. Okay. Posts HTML. And to render all posts, I have to use a for loop. So for post in posts variable, and here I want to use bootstrap cards layout. So I need bootstrap, get bootstrap.com, and I need a card. I like this one. The card header, here I want to paste created. The created field is the date time object, so I can use date function to get only date without time. Then in the card body, the title of the card will be the title of my post. Title. Post body. The button will be read more. So at each iteration of the for loop, the post variable gets an element of the post list one by one. And inside the for loop, I'm defining the layout for the post data. It's the bootstrap card. And now I want to have titles as links to its content. And to do it, first of all, I have to define a new view function. So I need the blueprint py file, posts, route, and the route will be the slug. Angle brackets means the name of the parameter that it will be the slug. Post detail function that takes slug as an argument. This slug. I want to use slug because it's unique and I can identify any post by its slug. And the same way I can use the ID of a post. So I have to get the post with his slug. Post will be post query object filter method, and I need all posts where the slug equals to slug to this variable. The slug is unique, so I assume that it will be only one post. So I'm calling the first method. For example, I have a URL address blog first post. This part is the slug that will be saved in the variable slug, and post detail will get this slug here, the first post. And then I will find all posts with this slug. It will be only one post, and I'll get it with the first function, first method. And the post detail function will return the result of render template function. The template will be posts post detail HTML, and the post equals to the post. And now I have to create the post detail HTML file. Post detail HTML. It will extend the base HTML. Okay, let's return to post HTML file. And here I have to define links to its post detail pages. So I want to use h5 header as a link. And the href attribute will be URL4 function that takes as an argument post blueprint, post detail function, and I have to pass the slug. The slug equals to post slug, this post variable here. And the same for the button. Let's test it. And I've got my cards and it's working. Info, CSS class btn info, and I want to have margin bottom 3 or 4 maybe. Okay, if you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Now I want to create tags for my posts. To do it, I have to create a new model and another table in the database accordingly. But first of all, I want to have migrations. Migrations are something like Git, a virtual control system for databases. What do I mean? In the moment, my database has only post table that's responsible for storing data about my posts. If I create a new model, the tag, for example, ID field will be the same. So migrations. I've got some changes in my model's py file that are not reflected in my database. So at the present moment I have a mismatch between what is and what should be in the database. This issue also concerning deleting fields changes and adding various database constraints such as uniqueness of fields, default values, etc. And to update my database to the current state of my model's py file, I have to add another table to the database. Or if I want to add a new field to my post model, I have to reflect these changes in the database too. And without migrations, I can achieve it only if I'll delete my database and create a new one with a new structure. The same I will have to do if I want to delete a field of a post model, for example. And of course, it's the awful idea to delete a database that already stores some data. And I need some system that will make amendments to the database accordingly to the changes of the model's py file. That's why I need migrations. So I am commenting my tag for a while. And now I need to install two Flask extensions, Flask Migrate and Flask Script. And in the app.py file, I have to import them from Flask migrate, import I need migrate class and migrate command class. And from Flask script, I need to import manager class, and I need to create instances of these classes. So the migrate will be migrate. I need to pass into it my Flask object, my app variable, and DB variable, SQLAlchemy object. And the manager will be manager. And now I want to register commands that I will use in a terminal to make migrations and apply them. Manager add command method. The command will be db, and I need the migrate command class, and that's all. Then I want to create manage py file like in Django, and from app import manager here, and from main I want to import all. The entry point will be manager run. That's all. Now I can use migrations. And now I have to initialize migration system to reflect initial state of my app and the database. It's something like a screenshot of the state of my project. I can close manage, and I need a terminal. Python manage py. I need the db command, this one, and I need init command, and I've got the migrations folder. And now I can add a new model to my project, the tag model. So I want to uncomment it, and the tag will have title, and it will have slug2. The constructor. I am calling this super class, its init method, and I am passing into it all positional and keyworded arguments, and self slug will be equals immediately slugify, and I am passing into it the title of the slug, the title of the tag, and the wrapper method. And it will be fstring. And that's all. Now I have to make migrations and apply them. Python manage py db migrate command to make migration files. It's done. And to apply them, I am calling the upgrade command. And now I've got a new table in my database. Now let's create a tag. I need SQLAlchemy object, import post, tag. Flask will be an instance of the tag. The title will be Flask. The slug will be Flask2. Now I want to associate post and tag models. That's to say, I want to add a many-to-many relationship that binds posts and tags. Many-to-many relationship means that one post can have many tags and one tag can have many posts. So our post table looks in a database like this. It has ID, title, slug, etc. I have 3 posts: first, second, third. And I have the tag table that has the ID field, the title, etc. ID1, ID2, ID3, Flask, Python, Django, for example, anything you want. And many-to-many relationship can be implemented by creating additional table in a database, like this, for example. Something like posts tags table, and it will have 2 columns: post ID, tag ID, and the ID of the record. So the post ID, let's say, will be 111, and tag ID will be 123. So the first column is IDs of posts and the second column is IDs of tags. Here the posts with ID number 1 has association with tags with ID 1, 2 and 3. And for example, post number 2 with ID 2 will have an association with the tag with ID number 2 only, for example. And thus I have to create additional table in my database. And in the models.py file, somewhere in the top of it, I want to define a new table. That will be the posts tags table, and it will be an instance of the DB table class, and the first argument is the name of the table. It will be posts tags name. When I described the models post and tag, I didn't specify names of table explicitly because Flask SQLAlchemy sets the names automatically according to the class names, the post and tag accordingly. But in this case I didn't create a new model, a new class. So I have to specify the name of the table explicitly. So the name is posts tags. Then I have to specify columns of that table. DB column, and the first argument of the column will be the name of that column, post ID. And again, in the case of the models, Flask SQLAlchemy takes the name of a column from the name of a class variable, ID, title, slug, etc. But in this case, in the case of this table, I have to set the column name explicitly. So the first argument for the first column will be post ID. Then data type, it's an integer. And the third argument is a foreign key class that takes a path to the value of a record. In the case of the post, it will be post and its property ID, its field. And I want to focus your attention that in the first argument I used underscore here because it's the name of the column. But in the third argument I'm using dot because the ID is the attribute of the post instance, post class. It's a path to the models field. That's why there is dot. The same way the second column. I've got the table, and now I want to set the association, a relationship between my two models, between post and tag. And I can do it by creating additional field in the post model. So let's define it here. I need tags. I'm calling the relationship method. And the first argument is the name of the class I want to set a relationship with. It's a tag class. The second argument is the table that will be used to store the data about associated models. It's the posts tags table. It's the secondary parameter, posts tags table. The third argument is the backref, back reference. Back reference to the post model. It's the field that instances of the tag model will get. And this field will return a list of posts associated with a certain tag. So it's the db backref, and the name of the corresponding field will be posts. And the last argument, I want to use lazy loading of associated object, and to load them only when I access to this data. So it will be the lazy parameter with the dynamic value. And now I have to make changes in my database. I have to call migrate command, and I have to call upgrade command. Okay, it's done. Again, I need Python. From app import db, from models import post tag. Then I want to get the tag. I have only one tag. Okay, and I need a post, at least one. Okay. Let's check a new field of the post object. Post tags. Appender base query. Okay. Let's call the all method. And I've got an empty list. And to associate the first post with the first tag, I have to append this list with a tag. So my post, I need a tags attribute. I'm calling the append method, and I'm passing the tag variable to the append method. Okay, post tags all. I've got a list with one element, with one tag, and now I want to save it to the database. Session object add post db session commit. Okay, let's test it. Ctrl Z, IPython again. And we can see a list with one element, with the Flask tag. It's working. The next step is to render tags in templates. And I want to use bootstrap cards and badges. So I want to render tags in the footer of the card. So I need a footer. Like this one. Just copy it and paste it here. for loop here for tag in post tags, and then I'm using the badge. I need something info, for example. And here I am pasting tag title. Let's test it. F5, and I've got Flask. Maybe button change to light, btn light. Okay, much better. And I want to hide footer if there is no tags. I can do it with the following. I want to check if post tags, and I'm calling the count function, the count will return an integer, 0 or non-zero. So I can use it here. F5. Okay. And now I want to have a link to the page with post associated with a certain tag. To do it, first of all, I need a view function, a new view function. So in the blueprint py file, I have no separate blueprint for tags, so I use the posts blueprint, and a new view will be the following. The road decorator will get tags and slug. Tag detail function that will take the slug, the tag, query filter, and I need all tags with the slug that equals to the slug variable, the first, and the returning value will be render template posts tag detail HTML, and I am passing into it the tag variable. Now I have to create tag detail function. It will extend the base HTML. And here in the for loop I have to render cards of my posts, but it will violate the dry principle, don't repeat yourself, because I will use the same code in two HTML templates, in the posts HTML and here in the tag detail HTML. And to fix it, I want to move the card layout to a separate HTML file. So in the posts directory, I'm creating a new directory includes, and here I'm creating a new file card.html. And in this card.html, I want to copy this card. Ctrl X and Ctrl V. Copy and paste. Here in the post HTML, I'm using the include tag, and then posts directory includes card HTML to render the card layout here, and the same I want to use in the tag detail HTML. For post in tag posts, let's test it. F5, nothing changed. Include works, and at last I want to add link to the tag label. I want to do the same like I did for posts, so I need the card layout, and in the badge span I want to wrap this title into a tag, and the href attribute will be URL for posts tag detail function, and the slug will be tag slug. Let's test it. It works, but I don't like CSS. Okay, it works. I've got the posts associated with the Flask tag, so maybe it's better to use span inside the A attribute, the A tag. F5, okay, and I forgot the header. And margin from top 4 for the card. If you like the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. In this video, I'll show you how to use HTML forms with Flask, how to send data to our app through forms to search something and to create a new post. The search form is defined in the base HTML file. And here I want to add to the search form the method attribute. It will be get method. By default, forms use get methods, but I want to set it explicitly because it's a tutorial. So, when a user submits a form, the data are sent to a server as a name-value pair. And so I have to add to the input tag the name attribute. Name will be just Q, query. And the name attribute is the name of a variable that will be used to store a user's data. Also, input tags have value attribute. And the value attribute of the input fields gets its value when a user inputs something to the input field. I can just delete it, and the value attribute will be filled with data automatically. And now I want to handle the submitted data, and I want to do it in the post list view function in the Blueprint py module. And here I have to import the request object. And in the post list function, I have to get the data that a user inputted to the input field. I need to get the value of the Q variable. So post list will have the Q, and the request object has the args dictionary that stores all parameters of request. The request object has the args dictionary that stores all parameters of request. Args dictionary, I call its get method, and I need to get the Q key, the value of the Q key. And the args dictionary should have the Q key because the name attribute of the input field has the Q value. Then, if a user submitted something in the search form, I want to find the post with it in its title or in its body. So, if Q, the post's variable will be post query filter, then post title contains Q, or the pipe character post body contains Q. Otherwise, it will be all posts. Let's test it. For example, second, and I've got a list of posts with the second word in its title. Okay, the search is working, and now I want to create a form for creating posts. To deal with HTML forms, I want to use WT Forms Flask extension, so I have to install it. Okay, and now I'm creating a new file in the posts directory. I need the forms py file, and here from WT Forms import the form class, string field class, and text area field class. The form class will generate an HTML form for my models, like in Django. So I am defining a new class that will be post form, and it will be the subclass of the form class. The title field will be an instance of the string field class, and body will be an instance of the text area field class. The string field and text area field classes take some strings, title and body, and these strings will become labels to the tags. And now I want Flask to generate HTML form based on the fields of the post form class. So let's create a new handler for this form. In the blueprint py file, at the top of the file, I want to create a new function. Post route create. It's very similar to the slug, so I want to define this function at the top of the blueprint py file, and the function will be post create. And now I have to import from the forms py module the post form class. And I need to use the dot here, because dot means the current folder. Then in the post create function, I have to create an empty form. The form variable will be an instance of the post form class. And then I have to pass this form to the HTML template. Let's say it will be post create HTML. In the templates posts folder, I'm creating a new file. It will be post create HTML, and it will extend the base HTML file. And the form. I want to delete class. The action attribute of a form is a link to the function that will handle the submitted data. In my case, it's the post create function. So I have to use the URL for function, and the posts, it's a blueprint, and post create. Then the form should have the method attribute with the post value, because I'm creating a new post, and so the HTTP method should be the post method. And then inside the form tags, I'm defining the for loop, because I have to iterate through the form fields. For field in form, and here I want to use field label, method, and field. It means that at each iteration of the for loop, the field variable gets an element of the form variable. That's the title field and the body field of the form. And I want to remind you that the form variable here is an instance of the post form class. So at each iteration, these fields are wrapped with the form group div. So let's test it. Line 19, blueprint. I don't see any problems here. I just restart the server. Okay, it's working. So let's test it again. Create. And we can see this small and ugly form. It has a lack of CSS classes. But before I add CSS classes to the form, I want to add a link to this page in the main menu. Here, for example. So I need the base HTML. And I want to add a link, new post. For instance, href attribute will be URL for create post. Post create, sorry. Okay. To add CSS classes to the label and to the input field, I can pass them to the label method and to the field method. Field method gets the class that equals to form control. And I forgot about button. Let's test it again. Okay. So, the form is ready, and now I want to handle the submitted data. I need my post create function. By default, all views handle only get methods. So first of all, I have to define the methods parameter that equals to a list with a post string and get string. So this post create function will handle post and get requests. Because to display to a user the form, I have to process a get request, and to create a post, I have to process the post request. So I need both of them. Then I have to check whether the request is a get or a post and handle them accordingly. So if request method equals to post, The request object has a dictionary that stores all data of submitted form. It's the form dictionary, and the form dictionary has the title key. Request form dictionary, I call the get method and I need the title. It has the title because in the post form class I defined the title field. And the body the same. And now I want to create a post object. Try post equals to post, title equals to my title variable, and body equals to my body variable. And then I have to save the post object to the database. I need the DB object. From app import DB. Here I'm adding the post variable to the session. And I'm calling the commit function, commit method. Accept anything you want. And after creating a post, I want to redirect a user to a page with this post. So I need the redirect function and the URL for function. It will be the result of the if block. So return redirect URL for, I need a URL, and it will be post detail function, and the slug will be post slug, the slug of this post. And if it's not the post request, it will be a get request, and then I'll just render to a user an empty form. By the way, to sort posts by date, we can use in the post list function instead of the all order by method. And I want to order them by created date in descending order. Let's test it. F5, new post. Okay, it works. Number 4. So, if you like the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. I have 4 posts, so in this video I want to add pagination to my project. From modules import post and post query object. And we can see that the post variable is an object of the base query class, and the base query class has the paginate method. This one. And the paginate method will slice a base query object to pages with a certain quantity of posts. For example, pages equals to post paginate. Pages is the pagination class object. The pagination class has all properties and methods that I will use for pagination bar. Has next, has previous, items, iter pages, next, next num, etc. And these are the attributes I will use to make a pagination bar. I want to use the bootstrap layout for my pagination bar, so I need get bootstrap.com and I like this form. Yep. Copy, and I need posts HTML. So somewhere here before end block I want to paste this pagination. And I want to clean up this form. It's not necessary. Okay. And now I want to fill this form, and I'll do it in the posts list function. By default, I have only one page that's rendered to a user, but if the request object will have the page number in its get parameters, I want to get this page number to display to a user all posts on this page. I'm creating a new page variable, and I want to get its value from the request args dictionary page. If the get parameters include the page parameter, I want to get its value. For example, localhost 5000 blog page equals to something. All data followed after the question mark are parameters of a GET request, and they are included to the args dictionary of the request object. And the value of the page parameter is the string, because all data in an address bar are strings, and also a user can input here something like letters instead of digits. And so I have to check whether the page variable is digit or not. If page and page is digit, then if it's not empty and if it's a digit, I want to convert it to integer data type. Int page. Otherwise, page will be 1, the first page. And I want to slice all posts base query objects to pages. So I'm creating the pages variable that equals to posts variable, all posts, and then I'm calling the paginate method, and the paginate methods takes two required arguments. The first argument is a number of a page to display to a user. It will be the page variable, this one or any other. And the second argument is the quantity of posts per page. I have only 4 posts, so I want to have 1 post per page. Then I want to pass these pages variable to the post HTML. Pages equals to pages. Then in the posts HTML, in the for loop for posts in, and instead of the posts variable I want to use the pages variable and its items property. We can test it, and we can see that the page content is changing. I've got the first post. Let's add a get parameter page equals to 2, and I can see the second page. Okay. First page again. Okay, it works. And now I want to bind the pagination bar with my view. So I need to define the CSS class for previous and the next buttons. Previous and the next. If there is no previous or next pages, it should have the disabled class, like here, like now. Also, I need links to pages. So here I want to define if block if and here and if the condition if not pages has pref, the list item gets the disabled class. Let's test it. Disabled. Okay. The same I want to use for the next button. I need to add disabled class to the list item tag. And for the next button, it should be has next property. Page number 4, and it works. Okay, then I have to change the href attribute for the previous button and for the next button. It will be partly hard-coded link. It will get the page parameter, and then I have to use here the number of the page. So the pages pref num property, and the same for the next num. F5. We can see that it's working. Okay, dot means relative link. And the next step is the pages links in the middle of the pagination bar. So I have to use here a for loop again for page in pages, and I need iterator iter pages. And inside of this for loop I have to use list item tag, and then a list item gets the active CSS class if the number of the current page matches to the page in the pages pagination object. This one. It will be another if. If page, this variable, equals to pages page, then it will be active. Then href will be relative link question mark page equals to page, and here just page. Let's test it. F5. Okay, I can delete this list items. Okay, it's working. So, if you like the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. In this video, I want to update posts with forms. So, I need a new view that will handle a request for updating posts. In Blueprint py model, I'm creating a new view. And first of all, to update a post, I have to fetch it from the database. And so the URL will be the following. I need to get the post, so I have to get the slug and then add it. methods post and get. Post update function gets the slug. Now I am getting the post from the database. Then again, I have to check whether the request is a post request or a get request. If it's a get request, I have to display to a user the edit form. If it's a post request, I have to get from the user updated data and save it to the database. So, if request method equals to post, I need to create an empty form. And in this case, I have to fill the form with the data of the post that I got from the database. So the first argument of the post form class constructor should be the form data. The form data is the data that a user sends to the app through input fields. And all data that a user sends to the app are stored in the request object in its form dictionary. So the form data gets the request form value. And the second argument is the object. The object is the data of a certain post that I want to fill in the form. In my case, it will be the post variable. Then, after the edit form will be filled with the form data, I need to overwrite it by a new updated data. I can do it with the populate object method. So I am calling populate object method and pass into it the post variable. So what I have done here, I've got a post from the database. Then I've created a form and filled this form with the data of the post. It's the old data and it's a new data that a user updated by submitting the form. And then the populate object method overrides the data of the post by a new data that a user inputs to the input form. Now I've got new data that I want to save to the database. db session commit. And then return redirect. And I want redirect a user to the updated post. If it's a GET request, I want to display to a user the form filled with the post data. So the form will be post form and object equals to post. Posts, let's say it will be edit HTML file. Post equals to post and form equals to form. And now I want to create the edit HTML file. Templates post, edit HTML. And I want to copy here the form of the post create file. Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Then I have to change the action attribute. It will be post update function. And I have to pass into the URL for function the slug of the post, post slug. Let's test it. Update. Let's check it. I'm sorry, parentheses should be closed here. Let's check it. 5, new post, edit. Okay, I've got field form with the post data. Let's add something. Submit. And I've got updated post. It works. So if you like the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. In this video I want to add to the project an admin dashboard or a panel. And to add admin panel to Flask application, I have to install Flask-Admin extension. Okay, and then in the app py module, I have to import the admin class. Then I need an instance of the admin class. So somewhere here. And we can look at it. Admin. And it's working, but it's empty. I need to import here all modules I've created. So I want to import here the module view class from Flask_admin contrib SQLAlchemy SQLA import module view. Okay, and also I have to import my modules. From modules, import all. I've got an exception, import error. It's again circular import. Cannot import namedb. It's because modules was imported too early. DB object is created on 17 line, so I have to import modules later, somewhere here. Okay, then to add to my admin panel the post and the tag classes, I have to call addView method of the admin object. And the addView method gets an instance of the module view class. And into the module view class constructor, I am passing the post class and the session object to perform CRUD operations. And the same for the tags. Tag. And also in the config py file, I have to specify the secret key variable that should be some random string, long and very random. And now I can try to create some post or a tag. Let's create a tag, title Django. And I want to focus your attention here. If I omit the slug here, in the slug field, Flask-Admin will create the tag without slug, and it will cause an exception. It's because Flask-Admin doesn't use constructors of our module, and this issue I'll fix in the next video. So I'm specifying the slug here explicitly and manually. Save. Okay, and it works. I can see here created tag. If you like the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. In this video, I'll show you how to restrict access to certain views, to certain classes added to the admin panel, and how to restrict access to entire Flask-Admin panel. And we can do it with the Flask Security extension. To restrict an access of unauthorized users to a page, first of all, I have to define a user and his role. And so I have to create two new modules, user and role. And also I will set a relationship between them. It will be many-to-many relationship too. So I need a modules py file. And here, from Flask Security, I'm importing user mixin and role mixin classes. The user mixin class provides to us helper methods like getUser, isActive, hasRole, etc. And then I'm defining a new module, the user class. It will be an instance of the module class and user mixin. The user will have ID and email. Email will be string data type, max length will be 100 and it should be unique. Then the user will have a password. Actually, and as a rule of thumb, passwords are not stored in a database. Usually databases stores only hashes of passwords. Django, for example, stores salted hashes that he gets by applying hashing functions to a password 30,000 times. Here I'm using Flask Security that will do almost the same. So the column will be string. The user will also have the active field. It will be boolean, true or false. And the role. The role module will have only ID and the name. I want to focus your attention that the name field is the required field. And I mean, if you'll define another field, a title for example, you'll get an exception. Also, I have to create an additional table to store information about the many-to-many relationship. And I'll do it the same way like I did for the post tag association. So it will be here. Roles and users, db table, the name of the table roles users, then the first column will be user ID, db integer, it's a foreign key, and the path to its value is the user ID. The second column Flask raises an exception, install email validator. I'll do it a bit later. So table is ready, and now I have to define the relationship. Let's say it will be in the user table roles field, it will be db relationship, and the first argument is the module, the second participant of this relationship, it's role class. Then the secondary parameter is the table I want to use to store the data about this relationship. It's roles users table. Then the backref, back reference, role instances will get users field, and also it will be lazy dynamic. And now I have to reflect all these changes in my database, and also I need to install email validator. Ctrl+C, and here pip install email validator. Then I need my manage.py file, Python manage.py db migrate command. Role ID and role ID, of course. Sorry for that. Let's try again. Migrate. Okay, it's done. And upgrade. It's done. Okay. And now I want to create a user and connect Flask Security to my app. In the app.py module, I want to import from Flask Security SQLAlchemy user data store. This class is a storage that will store users' SQLAlchemy object and roles. Also, I need to import my user and role classes, but I've already done it in this line. Okay. I have to create user data store object. It's an instance of SQLAlchemy user data store class, and the constructor of this class takes SQLAlchemy object db, the user module, and the role module. Then, to connect Flask Security to my app, I'm creating the security variable. That's an instance of the security class that I have to import firstly. And its constructor takes my app and the user data store variable. Okay, and now I want to create a user. From app import I need db and the user data store object. And there is a small detail here. I have to create a user through the user data store object, but not with my user model. This way is required by Flask Security documentation. So the user data store, and I'm calling the create user method. Email will be admin. And the password will be admin. We can check whether the user was created or not. Okay, and now I can restrict an access to my app. So I need the blueprint.py module. And here I have to import from Flask Security the login required decorator. And I can use this decorator to restrict an access to the post create and post update views. I'm restarting the server. Okay, and I have an access to the create new post form. And now I can use this decorator to restrict an access to create and update post views. Below the road decorator, I'm calling the login required decorator. Okay, let's test it again. And it's working. We can see the form. Let's try to log in. It was admintest.com and the admin. And I have runtime error. It suggests to set security password salt and security password hash. So I have to edit my config.py file. So security password salt should be long and random string is just an example in uppercase, and security password hash I want just to use SHA 512 underscore crypt. And the security password hash should be also uppercase. Let's try it again. Admin. Okay, it's working. New post. Again, log out. New post. And it redirects me to the login page. Now let's go to the admin page. And we can see that the admin panel is still accessible. And I need to integrate Flask Security and Flask-Admin. But firstly, I want to customize my login form. I need the root templates folder, and here I have to create the security folder, and inside this folder I want to have HTML templates with the names that the Flask security templates have. So I need at least login user HTML, and I want to take it from the virtual environment. The env is a directory with my virtual environment, a lib folder Python 38, side packages, Flask security, templates, security, and I need login user and messages. Ctrl C, and then I have to copy it to my app. Template security. Okay. Then, first of all, login user HTML file should extend my base HTML file. Okay, let's restart the server. And let's try login form. Okay, I've got my menu, but the page is empty, because I have to use my block, content block. I've got the form, but it has a lack of CSS classes. CSS classes I can provide with the render field function. These functions. In parentheses here I can specify the class parameter. So I need the submit class will be btn success. The email input tag will have from control CSS class, and the password too. F5. Too many parentheses, closing parentheses. Okay, I've got the form. Nice. Then log out, new post, and I need CSS classes for this message. I need messages HTML file, and here list item tag uses category CSS class, and I have to use bootstrap CSS classes for alerts. So, and also I want to use just divs. Div, and here will be div2. CSS class will be alert dash category 5. Okay, it's working. And now I want to define an admin user. My user should be admin. So I have the user here, and first of all I have to create a role for my user. Data store create role. Sorry, I have to pass to the create role function the name of the role. It should be admin maybe. Okay, and now I can save this role to the database. Okay, I've got a user and the role. Now I have to set the relationship between them. So user data store object, and I'm calling the add role to user method, user role db session commit. Okay, I've got the admin. And now I want to change the link in the menu to admin panel. I want to show to a user a link to the admin panel if he has the admin role. So I need the base HTML file, and I need this link. Instead of the new post, I want to have the admin link, and then I have to check if current user has a role admin. If he has, render him the link. The current user object is the user object provided by the Flask security, and the has a role method is provided by the user mixin class. And if he is admin, I want to show him the admin panel link, and the href attribute will be just a relative path to the admin panel. Okay, the next step is to integrate Flask-Admin and Flask Security. And to do it, I have to create subclass of the model view class. I need app.py file, and somewhere here, before admin, I want to define some classes. Later we can move this class to a separate module, something like admin.py file, and just import it here. So I need new class admin view, subclass of the model view. And the model view class has two methods that I want to override here to restrict access to the admin panel. So it's is accessible method. This method defines the accessibility of a certain view to a certain user. And this method will return true if the current user has the admin role. So return current user has a role admin. And I have to import the current user object. Then the second method is inaccessible callback. And this method is called if a certain view is not accessible to the current user. And this method will redirect a non-admin user to the login page. Return redirect URL for, and then I specify the blueprint that I want to use. The function blueprint and the function. It says the security blueprint, Flask security, and its login function. And then the second argument is the next. It's the URL a user wants to get. So I am using here the redirect function, URL for function, and the request object. So I want to import them all. From Flask, import redirect URL for and request object. Okay, I've got this class, and now I want to use it in this addView methods instead of the model view. Let's test it. F5. I have to log in. Okay, admin. Wrong link. Log out. Admin. And post and tag classes added to the admin panel disappeared because I'm not authorized admin user. And now I want to restrict an access to entire admin panel, and to do it I want to create new class, and this class will be the subclass of the admin index view. I need app py model, and from Flask-Admin I want to import this class admin index view, and I want to define somewhere here a new class. Let's say it will be home admin view. It's a subclass of the admin index view. Okay, and this class has the same two methods. Just copy and paste it here. And now I have to use this home admin view class here, admin app. Then the second argument will be the text of the link to the main page. Let's say it will be Flask app. Then the third argument is the URL of this link. URL will be root. And the last one is the index view parameter. That will be my class, an instance of my class. The name parameter will be just home. Let's test it again. 5 admin, and I have to log in. To get to the admin panel, I have to log in first. Okay, let's log in. Great. And now I can see post and tag classes, Flask app and home. It works. But I have here some code redundancy. And to reduce it, I want to create a mixin, like in Django tutorial. A mixin is a class. Let's say it will be admin mixin. And then I just copy and paste here all common code. And then admin panel and home admin view classes will be descendants of this admin mixin class too. The first, the second. Admin view will be pass. Pass again. The order of ancestor classes in multiple inheritance matters. The admin mixins and model view classes have the same method, and will be used the method of the class that is in the left side. So let's test it again. Nothing changed. And the last for today, I want to fix the problem with the creating tags or posts without slugs. Flask-Admin creates class instances differently. It doesn't use class constructors. So I have to say to Flask-Admin what exactly he should do. And in the app.py module, I want to create a new class. Somewhere here. Let's say it will be base model view class, a subclass of the model view class. I need to override the method on model change. If something is changed in an instance of a model, a new slug should not be generated. So I am checking whether it was created or not. If is created, then I am calling the generate slug method of the model. And then I am calling the onModel_change method of the ancestor class. And now I have to say to Flask-Admin to apply base model view class only for post and tag models, because they only have generate slug method, but role and user haven't. So again, I need another classes. Class post-admin view that will have admin mixin as ancestor, and the base model view pass. Tag admin view. And then add view method will get post admin view and tag admin view, and we can test it. Admin tag create save. Yep, I forgot about it. The tag has no attribute generate slug. It's true. Not a problem. Let's add self generate slug. Again. Okay, and slug was generated successfully. And also we can customize an appearance of this form. In the app.py file, in the post admin view, we can provide form columns variable. It's a list of fields. Let's say it will be title, body, and tags. Let's look at it again, F5, and we can see only these three fields: title, body, tags. If you like the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. In this video, I want to create a custom 404 error page. To do it, in the root templates directory, I'm creating a new file, 404 HTML, that will extend my base HTML template. And now I want to display this page to a user. And in this time I want to use views.py file of my app, but not the posts blueprint. And here I am using error handler decorator that takes as an argument 404 error code. And the handler that takes some event, and it will return render template, my 404 HTML page, and I want to return status code. Let's test it. Okay, blog, and it doesn't work here in the blog because Flask treats the rest of the URL address as a slug of a post and tries to find it. So I have to change a bit my blueprint py model. In my post detail view, for example, I'm using the first method, and if my post detail function doesn't find what a user asks, the post variable gets the none value, and the view just renders this none value to a user, and that's why there is a blank page. So I want to change this method to another. I want to change .first to first or 404. Replace all. And that's all. We can test it. Okay, it works well. So if you like the video, Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. In this video I want to use some custom CSS in my Flask project. I want to have some small panel for login and logout. So first of all, I want to create a new directory to store my CSS styles and other static files. Static CSS. And here I want to create styles CSS file. And now I want to link this style CSS to my project. And I can do it in the base HTML file. Here I'm creating a new link. And the href attribute will be static CSS styles CSS. And that's all. Very simple. Now let's add this login logout link. This link. And now I want to add some CSS. Login panel. So I want to have the border 1 pixel width, solid and very gray. Then border radius will be 2 pixels, position fixed, the right margin will be, for example, 50 pixels from right, 50 pixels from bottom will be 30 pixels, and the paddings 10 pixels. F5. Okay. And also I want to change a bit my base HTML, so I want to have if block here. If current user is authenticated, then I want to have logout link. URL 4, it's a Flask Security blueprint logout function. Okay, and I want to add some CSS styles to this a tag. It will be btn light. Okay, and otherwise I want to have the login link. Let's test it. F5. Okay, it's working. So, if you like my Flask tutorial, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.